persist. Now, just yesterday, the Biden administration announced its mask mandate for air, train, and bus travel would remain in place through April 18th, of course. Now, this despite airline CEOs just telling Congress a month ago that airplane filtration systems are so good that masks are unnecessary. But that's not all. The tyranny of these vaccine mandates also continues. In our nation's capital, a prominent nun is now being denied a religious exemption from getting the vaccine. And, by the way, she also has natural immunity. Joining me now is Sister Deidre Byrne, board-certified family practitioner and surgeon, as well as nun, and her attorney, Chris Ferrara, special counsel for the Thomas More Society. Sister Byrne, wonderful to see you this evening. First of all, as a physician, have you actually treated or worked with COVID patients?
Yes. I've treated a lot of people with early COVID therapy, with meds that are not easy to get, but I've treated about 400 or more patients. We've had excellent success with keeping people out of the hospital. It's been great.
So you also filed a religious exemption from DC's vaccine mandate, and you have moral objections to the vaccines, as do many religiously motivated people. So why do you think they rejected your exemption?
I don't know. I don't know. It's been in a state of shock when I read the letter. It's a really good question.
Well, maybe Chris, your attorney, can chime in on this. Chris, I mean, anyone who knows Sister Deidre, and I happen to know her a little bit, she's a woman of great courage and highly intelligent and accomplished, obviously. She has her reasons, but DC said no.
Well, I think you're talking here, and she'll be embarrassed to hear me say this, about the equivalent of Mother Teresa for the District of Columbia. This is someone who had it all, a medical degree from Georgetown University School of Medicine, the status of a retired colonel in the U.S. Army. She could have had a lucrative career, a life of comfort and privilege, and she tossed it all aside to devote herself to the life of a religious sister in order to devote it to providing medical care to the needy and the undocumented of the District of Columbia. So this denial of a religious exemption to someone who says quite clearly that she can have nothing to do with abortion-connected vaccines developed from fetal cell lines or tested from fetal cell lines, it's just inexplicable. The only explanation I can think of is that this represents yet another example of the intersection of politics and bureaucratic intransigence and religious liberty, and the result is a constitutional train wreck.
Is there going to be a lawsuit here, Sister Deidre? Oh, you filed a lawsuit already.
We're seeking a temporary restraining order, and you want relief. We hope to get it by or before March 18th, when the denial of the religious exemption becomes final. And I should say that the form letter, it's apparently a form letter, that denied the exemption request doesn't dispute the sincerity of Sister's religious beliefs, doesn't dispute her documentation of those beliefs, but instead appears to have inserted, outside of the check boxes on the form, the grounds that to grant this religious exemption to Sister would be an undue hardship on DC Health, meaning the DC Health Department, which is absurd. I mean, that's an employment standard. The employer, for example, says it would be an undue hardship if you don't work on Sundays. But DC Health doesn't employ Sister. So it makes no sense. It's a made-up criterion for rejecting the application for exemption.
Well, we have like 30 seconds. This is why TV is hard in moments like this. But Sister Deidre, we need you out there serving this community in the DC area. We need you. This community needs you more now than ever. So I hope the right thing happens here, but we're going to be praying for you and for all those who are seeking exemption from these types of mandates. And thank you for bringing this story to light. And when we come back, the last bite, DeSantis takes down Disney.